Hello everyone, Clacka the Geek here, and welcome back to another Clacka Chronicles podcast, episode 51 today. We're going to be doing an Inside No.9 reaction. So, we've got, this doesn't usually happen, but we have got a Christmas special for Inside No.9, The Bones of St. Nicholas, and the 8th series of the show will be coming out some point next year. I'm really looking forward to that, but we got this to start the series off, technically. And I will just say right up front that when Series 8 does come out, obviously I'll do a review of that when it comes out. I will talk about this when that gets released. I just wanted to do this one-off reaction video. I won't normally do this, but I just wanted to do it just for this episode, because it'll be a while till Series 8 comes out. But yeah, The Bones of St. Nicholas. Where do we start? Oh yeah, before we get properly started, I should say spoilers for this episode, and you trust me, you don't want this one spoiled, because it is, the twist in this one is absolutely genius. But yeah, so if you've got your broken jaws and your selection boxes ready, then let's begin. So this episode takes place on Christmas Eve in a supposedly haunted church, and it follows Dr. Parkway, played by Pemberton, and he's keen to stay over there overnight. He's on his own. He was originally meant to be with his wife, but she had passed away recently, so he's on his own, and he wants to be left alone, because there's also the warden, played by Simon Callow, who's a bit off the wall, a bit eccentric, and you've got a couple there, Posey and Pierce, one of them played by Shearsmith, and they kind of tell stories about, like, kind of ghost stories about, Saint Nicholas, not the Coca-Cola version, the original Saint Nick. Now, if there's one thing that I think this episode truly excels at, that really stood out to me, it's the atmosphere. It really has that very ambient, very creepy, unsettling atmosphere, and I think there's so many things that do it. It looks incredible. It's one of the best episodes of No.9 in terms of cinematography. I think not only does it just look really nice, the colours and whatnot, and how it's lit and all that stuff to make it very ambient, but also just the way that it uses the camera to convey scale within the setting. Obviously, they're in this church hall, which is very, very sort of open. It's a very open space and quite big. But then you've got the characters, and the way that they shoot the characters at certain angles, a lot of sort of wide angles, it makes them look smaller, and it just adds to the kind of scale of how isolated and alone that they feel. It's really effective in my opinion. In a sense, it's almost sort of the inverse No.9. It's sort of, it's not trying to be claustrophobic. It has kind of an opposite effect to something like, say, Sardines or La Cachette, which are very claustrophobic and self-contained. This is a bit more open, and it still creates that unsettling effect. I think the humour was really effective. It more so came from Pierce and Posey, and also Pierce's Lord's prayers were just bloody hilarious. They were great. I looked at Reese is more usually kind of the more serious one, but I'd like that occasionally he will play the more comedic one, because Steve's the more kind of jolly one of the two normally, but the roles are sort of reversed in that way, so I quite like that. But the humour, it's funny, but it's not there to make you laugh out loud. It's kind of more uneasy, sort of. Sometimes it's there to kind of break the tension, but it's kind of a bit awkward, and it's effective humour. It doesn't detract from what the episode does, I think. But I also want to now talk about the characters, because I kind of touched on them just then. I really liked all four of them. The main character was Dr. Parkway, played by Pemberton, and I liked it. I liked the kind of... I'll get more into it when I talk about the twist, but the way that the episode focused on him, and sort of... There was a certain level of knowingness that, looking back, it was kind of... There was something quite eerie about his character that I really liked, and Pemberton played it really well, I thought. Then you have Posey and Pierce, and they were really funny. They were kind of the annoying kind of loudmouths who kind of felt like they kind of interrupted everything, but they weren't overly annoying. It was intentional, obviously, and they were effective, and also you still cared for them. They felt very genuine, because there's that great scene towards the end of the episode when Posey talks about how her child died during pregnancy, and the warning that her ghostly apparition of her mum gave. That was a really nice scene between the two, and got me to really care for them as characters. And Simon Callow's Mr. Wilson character, or Dick, if you want to call him that, because that's what he was called. He was quite good. He was kind of quite eccentric and off the wall, but he was quite fun. And then when he told his ghost story, it was really effective. And I love those scenes where they tell the stories, and it has that, again, that it creates that great spooky atmosphere, you know, of telling these stories. It works really well. Now let's have a chat about the twist of the fact that Dr. Parkway, he's looking for a relic of of the original St. Nicholas Smith, because St. Nicholas, it's believed that his jaw is here in the church somewhere, and he's trying to find it. And what happens is that he becomes St. Nicholas. Like, he ends up dying, and he becomes the ghost of it, and he becomes a ghost, and it's so clever how it does it. Like, throughout the episode, you get these little moments, but these very fleeting moments that something's afoot, and when, at the end of the episode, when it's revealed of what it is, it doesn't feel the need to sort of flashback, because it's obviously from the ghost's perspective, or from Parkway's perspective. So it doesn't need to flash back. It feels the twist comes off more organically, I think. The way that all these little things just click together, it just makes it so kind of, oh, that's great. Not quite the levels of something like Wise Owl, which had my jaw on the floor. But it was still a really effective twist. It was honestly fantastic, and also it was quite shocking when Steve obviously ended up finding the bones, but ended up dying in the process. It was quite, oh man, it did take you by surprise, and it was just really clever. And there's so many moments as well in that final part of the episode where you can kind of read double meanings, like when Steve kind of knocks the ball out, like knocks against the tree, and he mouths the S word that can mean poo. Obviously, you know, on face value, it could mean that, you know, he might get caught. But it could also be read, at least from my perspective, it could be read as sort of, he's acknowledging the fact that, oh wait, this is what happened earlier, I'm potentially dying. Kind of the acceptance of his fate. And there's so many like little details, and that's the great thing about number 9. There's so many things that can be read in different ways with the knowledge of this twist. It's just great. So overall, I know this is very rambly, but it's a very fresh episode. I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. It could be a 10, but I don't like giving 10s out willy-nilly. I don't like giving 10s out willy-nilly. I think let this episode sit with me, and you know what? I could see it going to a 10, to be honest, because it is fantastic. Why are the Christmas specials for number 9 so great? It's just, man, I love this episode, and I highly recommend you give it a watch this holiday season if you haven't already, because it is just a bloody excellent bit of telly. So that's my opinion of the story. What did you think of it? Did you love it? Did you not like it? If you didn't, or whatever, let me know all your opinions in the comments below. Be sure to like and subscribe, click the bell so you don't miss a thing, and this is Clacka the Geek, signing out. Goodbye, everybody.